Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of El Cookie Otaku. Today with us, we have a very special guest. He voices Kazuki Arimura in The Dreaming Boy is a Realist, Testa in Somehow I've Gotten Stronger When I Improved My Farm-Related Skills. That's a mouthful. Junpei Tamayama in Haikyu. And the list keeps on going. We're going to keep talking about all of these. So without any further ado, please give it up for Bobby Haworth.
Hey. Bobby, welcome. Mi casa, tu casa.
Ah, gracias, señor.
I love that.
Well, I feel like
Texas, so, I know a little bit of Spanish, right?
I know, but it's the fact that you have the Mexican accent down pat, too.
Well, like I said, I'm Texas. I'm used to it, I wish I spoke more fluent Spanish, but unfortunately, I'm kind of an idiot, so I can't really do that.
you'll be surprised if you understood that you're already one step ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Talking about game and local story and surviving a different environment, let's start with your first anime, the latest one, with The Dreaming Boy is a Realistic, with the character of Kazuki Arimura.
Yeah.
For those who haven't watched this series yet, which I watched it and I love it, how would you describe it?
Well, this series is, and honestly, okay, you guys are gonna hate me for this because I feel very self-conscious about watching myself perform in any medium, whether it be anime, stage, film, commercials. So I don't really watch myself because my own neuroses and anxiety all kind of creeps in and makes me crazy. So I don't really watch any of my own performances, but for The Dreaming Boy is a Realist, I do know that it's about a boy who's dreaming, and he's also somewhat of a realist.
Damn. Just like reading the title.
And like I said, he is a sweet boy. I mean, just from what I can look at in his pictures, he just seems like such a sweet boy. But honestly, I feel like you guys know more about this show than I do.
I will throw you the lightsaber jacket. Don't worry, I got you.
Yeah, please.
For those who haven't watched it yet, he was right. The main character is sweet, and he's not dreaming. He's very awake. I will say that he kind of woke up after many years. We're talking about the main character, with Wataru, who after many years being focused only like a stalker, TV stalker on his only girl, the girl of his life. Suddenly, you have this flash second where like, whoop. You know what? I'm tired. Why I keep doing this? Maybe she's wrong. I feel like this is my time to stop doing this. I should just look away. And for the first time in his life, after many years, he's like, you know what? You're right. I know you're tired of me. It's fine. I will not be a pain any longer. Thinking about Aika, and from that moment, everything started rolling at a different pace where he realized that there's people are surrounding him with more a scenario where different story, and they start approaching him, and now he's like an approachable person because for the first time he doesn't have his eyes and his 95% of attention in Aika. This is a story which is, for me, is beautiful, not only because the story, also the animation, the colors, the character, all the side main characters are full of detail, nice drawing, nice animation, and in this case, your character, which I just named and I just lost it because I changed my page.
Harimura.
Thank you. Is one of those characters that also is very, very well detailed drawing, and I did too. So
from very autobiographical from the way you describe it.
Yeah, and from the cabin booth, recording booth, how much you know about your side character, about Kazuki?
It's really interesting because, we get a call and, they say, hey, you've been cast in this role, and we want you to come in and record. But that's really all the information that we have. And so when we get in there into the booth, and I mean, I'm just saying this for myself. I can't speak for everybody, because I know that there are quite a few actors that know the shows already, that already might have a familiarity with the story. For myself, it's quite the opposite. I'm kind of going in there cold, and I really rely on my sweet boy director, Kyle Jones, who is phenomenal. He really helps guide me through the character. But, we kind of have a shorthand, too, where he doesn't over-direct. He just kind of says, hey, look, your character is this. He wants this. This is what you should do. And I go in there and I just act my little ass off. And hopefully I can bring something that is not only entertaining, but, something that is kind of my own take to the character. Because I just really enjoy doing it. I just really enjoy coming into the booth and getting a little synopsis of a character and then just really making it my own.
Which I consider interesting because in this character, he's a supporting character of the story, so the character should be very unaware of this is the anime or this is what's going on. And I feel that this is why we all felt that notion that it's a story going on in a place when all characters are acting based on their nature. Well, except the main character, with sometimes he chose his Deadpool moment where he broke the fourth wall once or three times. But it's a very interesting anime on High Dive, English dub, of course.
Yeah,
but highly recommend it. But moving on.
No, and yeah, I was just going to say, just to add to that, it's really great just trying to come into the booth and not knowing really anything about these characters. You're able to get a really fresh perspective, and, you get kind of little bits and pieces, from the director and from what you're seeing on screen, even though I don't speak Japanese. I don't know if you could tell. A lot of people think I do right offhand. But no, so it's really amazing to be able to create this character kind of in the moment and dive into this rich backstory that has already been created and doing something a little different with it.
Yeah, and moving on, one of the story, moving from the high school drama to a farm life, outside life. One of the newest anime series where you have the character of Tesla in
Testa.
I have shown her Testa.
just put a picture of the battery right there.
Everybody's thinking about Tesla with the stock and Elon.
Right.
Yeah.
This can have been a long day. Testa in I have somehow gotten stronger when I improve my farm-related skills.
Yeah.
Which, damn, it's a very long name.
Yeah, and I feel like I was a little bit typecast being from Texas, and, they know we like to farm here. So they felt like I was probably perfect for this role.
Wait, but it's not the same farm as Texas, right?
It's a joke.
No, not exactly, but, But yeah, I've heard of farming at least. So
yeah, because I confession, I haven't seen it yet, but it reminds me of Reincarnated as a farm or something. The one we have from High
Farming Life in Another World.
Yeah.
It reminds me that one. Only that already from the beginning we have a OP character here of farming. So,
yeah.
What else am I missing from this series?
Yeah, so I loved filming this scene, or the role of Testa, because, he just had this undying loyalty to his friend. And, his friend is going off and having these grand adventures and fighting these, mythological beasts. And, he comes back and Testa still is there for him. He has everything running smoothly at the farm. So it was just a really good kind of story about friendship between those two characters. And it was just really kind of special to film that. I feel like I have so many different types of roles, but there wasn't really one where you had that dedicated friendship like you had with Testa.
And we're going to keep with the lineup here, but correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this anime one of the peacefulest, more peace series that you have so far?
Yeah, for me, particularly, yes, definitely. Because normally I feel like they like me to come in when there's a character that screams a lot. I feel like I have a great anime scream. So this one, there was less screaming, more bonding with my characters, cohort there. But yeah, it was definitely more of a laid back role compared to some of the others that I've done, for sure.
So now that we're speaking about screaming, let's move to one of the other series, which this is about screaming and surviving and don't drop the ball at any point, even that the play can last. When a real play may last 17 seconds, I think that's too long, probably to 40 seconds, that's way too long. In the anime, it can last 15 minutes. Talking about your character Junpei Tamayama in Haikyu, which is a classic about sport, volleyball, nerve-wracking, great series, must watch if you don't want to sleep at night.
Yes, absolutely. It's probably my favorite sport of all the sports that we have. It was funny, and I know I mentioned this briefly when we were talking earlier, but I didn't realize how much of a phenomenon that Haikyu was. And I was hanging out with some friends, and one of their daughters was there, and she was really into anime. And I was like, well, what's your favorite animes? And she said, well, I like this, Haikyu. And I said, no way, you're not going to believe this, but guess who was in Haikyu? I did some of the voicing. And it was incredible because it was the one moment of my career where I felt like an actual celebrity, because her just kind of mouth hit the floor. It was like, you're in? Yeah, believe it or not. But my character in Haikyu was, I believe it was season 4, and he's a rival on the one of the opposing volleyball teams. He is a real hard ass, really wants to win, but unfortunately for him, he's kind of foiled. But yeah, I had a blast filming that one, and it was definitely a lot more aggressive, a lot more of my lower screamy register coming into play on that one. But yeah, a total blast. I always love playing those characters just because, there's just so much passion and so much excitement, which, I feel like that's kind of why we get into this in the first place, is like you got to dream of playing those characters that are just, oh my gosh, did you guys see that?
Yes.
That was a mosquito hawk. We call them mosquito hawks here in Texas. I don't know if you have them, but
I saw it. I thought it was here. I was like, there shouldn't be no bugs here. It's winter.
Yeah, normally we have a very bug-free house, but this time of year, it's like we get swarmed with these things, and they're like the size of my fists. But yeah, pay no attention to that. He just wanted to be seen on camera.
Clearly.
That was a flight like in Haikyu.
Okay, speaking of Junpei, he screams a lot. How do you, when you're recording for this character or any other character that screams a lot, how do you deal with that so that your voice doesn't run out And do you only record that for the day, and then the rest of the day you're like, no, I gotta rest. I can't. I'm sore, or I'm hoarse.
I can't speak for other actors. I know for myself, like I have no self-control, and so my biggest thing is like I want to get the shot. I need to get that take, and I'm not satisfied unless the director's satisfied, unless everybody is satisfied. So I will make myself hoarse just trying to get what is needed for that. So, I was a classically trained actor. I went to the University of Houston, go Cougs, and I had a great acting teacher and a voice teacher, Carolyn Boone, Jim Johnson, shout out. But yeah, they really taught me some great tools to kind of make sure that I can do these takes over and over, and I'm not necessarily going to lose my voice or I'm going to kill myself doing it, because I have the proper technique and I can kind of use my diaphragm to kind of build those big scenes up. So yeah, it's not just going into the booth and screaming at the top of your lungs, but there is some technique behind it. And luckily I feel like I had some really good teachers that kind of showed me the proper way how to do that stuff.
And I feel like that for today's episode, it wasn't on purpose, but we're going from hype escalating from the peaceful one to the hyper one. Not bloodier yet. Maybe it might get bloody for this one next series. But talking about one of those races, I think you have a very high acting here. Talking about Azumabashi in Tokyo Majin.
Yes. This is an interesting story, because this is actually my first anime role that I ever had. I think it's like way back in 2008. And always, as an actor here in Houston, Texas, everybody knows about Sentai, formerly A.D.V. Back in 2008, it was called A.D.V. And everybody knew about it. It was such a cool gig, to come in and do these voiceovers. Everybody wanted it. So I was actually doing a children's theater play, and I was playing the wicked stepmother in Cinderella. So you could kind of get a sense of my vocal range there. Very high. No, it was very high, very shrill, very annoying. But Jin, the director of Tokyo Majin, he had actually come and seen the show with his kids. And I remember after, he kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, we'd love to have you come in and audition at A.D.V. And, for me at that time, it was like, of course, please. Like, I will pay you to let me come in and audition. And so I remember I did, and I think he actually had me in mind for a different character. And this was my first time in the booth. Like, I had no idea, no frame of reference. And so I just automatically started reading for the first character who came on screen. And he was like, oh, no, that's not who we wanted you to read for. But actually, that was pretty interesting what you did there. So I think we're actually going to cast you as that guy. So that's actually my break into the business. And I remember I got that first job with Tokyo Majin. It was right in 2008. The financial market collapsed, and A.D.V. actually shut down. And a lot of the directors who were working there at the time got laid off. And Jin was one of those directors who got laid off. And so I was like, damn it. There's my in. That was my in into the company. Now no one there knows me. And I remember just being really disheartened about it. And Then I remember when they reopened the Sentai, and I was kind of sending information out to them, sending my demo reel out, saying, "Hey, remember me? I worked on this one Tokyo Majin." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever." But then eventually, I guess maybe they listened to my demo. I don't know what happened, but they called me in for an audition, within the last 5 years, and I've been back ever since.
Girl, you should have told him, hey, I've been there already. I know where this is located and that. Like, I'm not making things up. Like, the bathroom's even painted this way. Just so you know, I was really here. Listen to what I did.
I'm legit, exactly. And that was the thing. The receptionist there, and his name is Paul. And so I was like, I know Paul. And I would call up there, and I'm like, Paul, you got to hook me up, and you got to get me in here. And he was like, I'm trying, Mr. Bobby, but, there's only so much I can do. But yeah, I am so glad to be back and so glad to be working again with Sentai. And
sorry, go ahead.
No.
I have parentheses here because I feel guilty about this, and I feel like I'm switching the podcast from anime to financial here.
No,
when you mentioned the 2008 financial crisis, wasn't sure what it was about, probably because by that time I was ignorant enough to don't care about finance, so don't know what was going on around me.
Yeah.
So what was that crisis? What triggered it? Because I'm reading here in Google, said like housing market that went high.
Yes. So basically, it was kind of like a domino effect of a lot of different things that went wrong. So first of all, banks were writing these mortgages for people who couldn't afford them. So there was a massive default on mortgage loans, where banks couldn't recoup that money. And then there were also a lot of insurance policies that were being written that were being written and then rewritten by reinsurance. And so this is kind of getting way in the weeds, and I work in insurance, so I know all this dorky stuff. But reinsurance is basically insurance for your insurance, where a lot of insurance companies will say, we're going to take on this big risk. We're going to write this insurance policy for it. And then we're going to alleviate some of this risk for our book of our budget by writing it out to other underwriters. And so what was happening at the same time as the housing market, all these loans were failing, so were all these reinsurance policies. So it was kind of like a perfect storm of mortgages were failing, insurance policies were failing, where they didn't have enough money to back these loans, and everything just kind of collapsed all at once. It was like a house of cards. So there was no money to back up any of this stuff that was being written. And they were basically just gambling that everything was going to work out. Everybody was going to make their payments on time, even though these people that they were writing loans for, writing mortgages for, had no intention or no way of paying these mortgages back. So it was just a big fucking mess, honestly. It was, a bunch of Wall Street stock traders betting on the market and failing, and it was just a catastrophe.
And another ignorant question, and I have another follow-up ignorant question, but isn't that too far from what's happening now?
No, so this is the thing. It's so crazy because, something like this happens and there's this big collapse and everybody is panicked and everyone is freaking out, and, we go into a recession, we go into a depression, and then we say, you know what? We're going to put these safeguards in place so this never happens again. But finance people, they get bored, so they say, okay, it's never going to happen again. And then we have some years of prosperity. We have some years of coming back. And they say, you know what? Why don't we just take a little bit more risk? And then that works out. and they say, how about we take a little bit more? And that works out. And they're making money. And they say, how about we take a little bit more? That's the thing. It's just this mentality of there's never enough. So they keep taking more and more and more risk. Eventually, that risk becomes so great that they can't back it up on the budget. And that's when we get into problems. But yeah, exactly. It's already starting over again. And they're already predicting, you know, in my line of work, we work with economists, and some pretty big economists have already predicted that we're on track to have another recession here soon.
Because I go to Google and I write 2008 financial crisis, and the first description, and you're reading it, and you're like, wait, isn't this describing what's going on right now?
Yeah.
And that's why you were talking over here like, wait, but this is like
deja vu, right?
And something that really surprised me, and this is another ignorant question, I would never thought that a crisis which start according to definition with house market, which right now almost nobody under 30 years old, under 40-year-old cannot buy a freaking house to this day.
Yeah.
How that triggered the end of A.D.V Studio, which I was like, wait, how A.D.V got impact? Again, ignorance.
Well, and I can't speak. Yeah, a lot of places got impacted, but I can't speak directly to what happened and what A.D.V's finances were tied up into. But my guess is that they had loans, or they had stocks, or they had their money put into something that wasn't going to pay them back. And instead of paying them anything, dropped down to zero. So they had to fold the business and reopen Sentai. And this is just from a very layman's kind of outside perspective looking in, because I have no idea. Like I said, I'd only done one show there at that point. But my guess is that there were some bad investments that had been made, and, not to their fault. Everybody was being sold these dreams by banks and by mortgage companies that were saying, you can afford anything you want. You just got to believe in yourself, which obviously was not the case.
Because now that we're talking about this, I having flashback of remember my dad scratching his head like, it's going bad. This is bad. And I remember everybody saying, it's bad. We're losing money.
Yeah.
And I was like, Yu-Gi-Oh? Digimon? I don't know what you guys talking about here right now. So sure.
Well, that's the thing too. And like so much of our economy is tied up in the stock market. And, realistically, the stock market is just gambling. I mean, we don't know what the hell is going to happen with some of these. Of course, like a lot of people are making a lot of money right now with Nvidia and this AI technology. But of course, one wrong move, we have some AI that goes rogue and that whole market collapses. And then all the people that invested all of this money, trillions of dollars into the stock market, into this one stock, they're out all of their money. And there's no getting it back. There's no insurance for that. It's essentially you're gambling on whatever is the flavor of the month. And that's why there's a lot of people that go broke with the stock market, because they just kind of instead of picking the safe bet that, like index funds, which, like the S&P 500, which is like a collection of the top 500 most profitable companies in the stock market. People will go on these one-off like Bitcoin, and while there was a lot of people that made a lot of money with Bitcoin, it was a very volatile stock. And, on one hand, they're making millions of dollars, but then if you go in too high and then the stock drops, 2,000%, you're out all that money. So you just got to be very careful. Is the moral of the story. Don't just invest in the flavor of the month. Have a balanced portfolio. As someone who has a finance degree, that's the only advice I can give you. Just make it as boring as possible, with your investments. That usually pays.
So, for moving forward, viewers that you're hearing to us, watching us tonight, if you have any family member that said anime is boring, anime is just cartoon, anime is just silly guys making voices, feel free to share this episode with them. How from anime we end up talking about economy and history or U.S. economy crisis, and how the heck we went from anime, economy crisis effect, Bitcoin, and how we try to transition without stopping the anime. So, and feel free to comment how wrong are we and attack us because we don't know anything about finance. Feel free to have a rampage in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all connected, at the end of the day. Okay. Anime is connected to, farming, as we can see, and, how I improve my farm, related skills. It's all connected. So, yeah, absolutely.
And the mafia. So, what is Tokyo Majin? For those who haven't watched this anime yet.
Yeah, so it's an older one, and it was a lot of fun. It was about these school kids who would kind of come together as a group and fight the forces of evil. And my character, it was really interesting because it was really the only time that I've gotten to use a very significant change in my voice to my character. Because a lot of the time, we wanted to make it as realistic as possible, right? And so, I might have certain inflections on my normal voice, but this guy, he kind of had this Grover, growly voice like this. So it was a lot of fun to really do that character. It was just very different. And every time I'm in the booth, I'm always trying to push Kyle to let me do something crazy. It doesn't usually work out. Sometimes he'll let me do it for a little side character that just needs some folly in the background. But for as far as the major characters I do, it's typically pretty close to my normal voice with certain inflections here and there. But yeah, that one, he was off the rails. He was going full Grover, full froggy kind of voice, which was fun.
A Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
I must say, when you change your voice like that, I had to do a double take. I was like, wait, is something wrong with my headphones? And then they just kept talking. I was like, for a split second, I thought it was either the internet connection or something. And then I was like, no, wait, that's him.
That's me. I got so many voices wanting to come out, and Kyle will never let me. I mean, masochist, this guy.
How did you end up? I mean, you mentioned you were cast on a play doing the witch.
The Wicked Stepmother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a witch. But how do you end up? I would say toxic esa bruja. How did you end up in the acting career?
Oh, so it's interesting. When I was in school, I was in high school, and I'd always been exposed to theater. My aunt and uncle were actually actors. They had moved to LA. They had done the whole thing, and they had always kind of taken me to plays as a young kid to kind of expose me to that part of the world. And I never thought about it as a career, to be honest with you. And I remember I was actually applying for a job when I was 16, and I think it was at Costco, and the manager was like, "What would you want to do if you could do anything? If you could have any job in the world, what would you be?" And I remember no one had ever really asked me that question before, and I just kind of was stumped. And I sat there for a minute, and I thought, and you don't want to just say nothing because, you're trying to get a job with this guy. So I was like, I guess an actor would be fun. And he was like, okay, that's cool. And I didn't get the job, but But at the same time, it kind of put this idea into my head that I thought, well, maybe I could be an actor. And I didn't really think about it that much because, in school I was more of a jock. I played football and that was, my thing. But I remember my senior year, I broke my fibula in the first scrimmage of the season. And the fibula, it's like a small bone in your lower leg. So I was out for the season for football, but I could still walk around. I could still do stuff. And I had always taken theater arts as an elective because I was like, it's an easy A. I don't really have to do anything. It's cool. And my teacher at the time was always trying to get me to audition for a play. And I was like, no, I'm playing football. I don't have time for that. And after I broke my leg, she was like, you got time now. And I was like, okay, I'll audition for something. What are y'all doing?
It's all connected.
Yeah,
no way to run out.
And so she had a play that she was doing. I don't know if you've heard of it. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
Yeah, iconic, right? And again, I was a football player back then, so I was like 50 pounds heavier. I played linebacker. My neck was like this big. And so they cast me as the chief. And that opening monologue of that play, I'm alone on stage in a spotlight. And I will never forget that moment where, I'm up on stage. There's probably like 7 people in the audience. But, that spotlight hit me. And I felt like my heart was beating through my chest, like the cartoons where you see their heart like boom, boom, boom. I was like, they're seeing my heartbeat, right? And they're going to know that I'm so nervous. But I never forgot that rush. And this was my senior year. And so I didn't really have any kind of drive or direction or know what I was going to do in college. I knew I had to go to college. But I thought after that, I was like, I'm seriously going to pursue acting. And I went to the University of Houston for a year. I got cast as a freshman in the first main stage show, which was kind of a big deal. And then after that, I was just hooked. I started working professionally around town. I dropped out, as any good actor would do, of school. And I started working, and it started with stage, and then I got an agent, and I started doing commercials and TV and movies, but always I felt like the gig that I wanted was anime voiceover, because it was just so fun. You go in there, you're in this booth, you have your headphones on, you have your double screens where you have the script on one side, you have the anime on the other, and it's just fun. I don't know. There was just always something about it that was so fun to me. So going in there now and being able to, do these shows, it's kind of like a dream come true. And especially now that I'm not really acting as much anymore. I have a real, insurance job and 9 to 5 where I go in every day. But being able to kind of get that reprieve and go in for an hour here, an hour there, and do some voiceover it's great. It's amazing.
And about that experience when you are seeing for the first time an anime, we're dubbing. What was your reaction when they invite you to be the voice of Furion in Reincarnated as a sword, when this isekai about Reincarnated as a sword?
Yeah. I mean,
what's your reaction about like isekai getting out of control?
Yeah, when they told me the title originally, I was like, this is wild. What? Reincarnated as a sword? But it was fun because I really like the character Furion. I kind of was channeling Freeze from Dragon Ball Z, which I think I mentioned to you both earlier. Was like, it's that's the anime that I grew up on. Every day after school, I'd come home and watch that. And so I've kept up with it over the years, of course. And I remember when I first saw that character, I just really saw this kind of connection between him and Furion. So I really was trying to channel him when I was voicing Furion, and it was just a real treat to be able to kind of incorporate some of that DBZ lore into something that I was creating, because it was the show that got me into anime to begin with.
And guys, Reincarnated as a sword, for those who haven't seen yet, don't get fooled by the title. It will sound boring just to have a Reincarnated as a tool, but it was surprisingly amazing, interesting, captivating, mature content with language. It's kind of fun to see the main character friend saying another word, and seeing the sword saying, "Oh, look at her, so small," and saying this vocabulary. So
and bloody too.
Yes, and like Furion was one of those characters that bring the boiling your blood. Like,
the hate.
Yes. It is I really crossed my finger for season 2. We need it. It was so great that I want to continue the story. Where are they heading? It was that great.
I agree. Let's get in there, because look, I need some work, okay? So I need to get in there too. All right.
And we know what's a great work too. And so we have our point where we're talking about investment and highest risk career. And to wrap up this episode, we have also one your character with Hikaru Setouchi.
Yes.
Phantom of the Idol. Talking about investment and jumping to careers.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite characters that I've ever played, because he is just such a little son of a bitch. He is such a little asshole. That it's just such a fun character to play, because he is just fucking with the main character the entire show. And I've always been, as from my experience in acting and doing all the different kind of roles I've done, I gotta say that a villain is always more fun to play than a hero. And even though he's not like, a true villain, but, he has enough qualities of a villain where it's just such a fun role to play, because you really get to dive into the intricacies of why the hell is he doing this? He's torturing this guy for no reason. But there is a reason. And Bailey, we came to the conclusion that he's just in love with it. And he doesn't know how to show.
I love those conclusions. I love the theory.
Yeah.
To wrap it up, so we went this episode from side character, feeling the story from Kazuki in Dreaming Boy, Testa in as a farmer, where you're technically a main character. Junpei and Haikyu, the hype, where you have the volleyball. The Tokyo Majin, we have a villain with a very different voice. Furion, who remade your blood boiling, and Record is a sword, and Hikaru, who is that devil in the right shoulder, making the main character interesting. Yeah. Which role you enjoy the most from this buffet of personalities?
You're gonna put me on the spot here, huh? Okay, so of course I love them all. They're each a part of me in my deranged psyche. But if I had to pick one as my favorite, I have to say I'm gonna go with Hikaru Setouchi and Phantom of the Idol, just because he is so deranged. Like his line of thinking, the things that he does in that show, you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? How are you so damaged? I love it. And you know, as an actor, those are the kind of characters that you dream of playing. You don't want to play just like some normal vanilla guy. You want to play someone that has this deep, dark, twisted psyche. So I think Hikaru Setouchi is probably one of the best characters that I've ever played in any medium, whether it's theater or film or voiceover. It was just a real joy to play that character.
Bobby, thank you so much. To wrap it up, any words of advice or life advice for those who are considering the voice acting career or who are just considering the anime too?
Yeah. I would say just don't give up. You know, just keep plugging away, keep working, because you never know when that call is going to come through. And when that call does come through, just be prepared to deliver.
Keep in mind that everything is all connected.
Absolutely. Everything happens for a reason.
Bobby, thank you so much. For those who haven't followed you yet, which social media can they follow you?
Sure, yeah. My Instagram is just at Bobby Haworth, BobbyHaworth, all one word. That's really the only social media I'm on. You know, I have others, but I don't get on it really. Instagram's pretty much it. So, yeah, feel free to drop me a follow if you want to see a bunch of pictures of my daughter and me.
Definitely, and you had a hard time catching that BOBBIHAWRTH. You can go down to the description, expand the description of this video. You're going to find Bobby link to his Instagram. Just click over there, and you're going to jump right to Bobby's Instagram. But because you already made over there, go to the left for the like and go to the right for subscribe, which we really appreciate your support on our YouTube channel. And feel free to follow us in all our social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. What else I'm missing? Everything. Go to Google, Kokyo Otaku. You will find us at the convention. Everywhere. But YouTube, please. On YouTube, we need the algorithm that's Bill and we never get. I mean, we always fighting it. So, Bobby, thank you so much.
Thank y'all. This was such a treat. I really enjoyed it.
Appreciate it. And we will see you in the next episode. Sayonara.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
That was cool.
Wait, say it in Spanish now. Say it in Spanish now.
Hasta luego.
There you go.
There you go.